Hello, hello. Here we are live. Okay. Shalom, shalom. Today we open Shimbala Ministry where we're going to dive deeper into knowing thyself, into study the deeper meaning of the scriptures and how we can integrate into our life, into our purpose. So we're going to start navigating this. Let me just put here. And the intention of this space is for you every Sunday to integrate the energies of the week and setting up the intentions for what do you want to embody next week. With all of this wisdom, I'm going to share with you Kabbalistic insight where I'm going to help you to really tap into that inner knowing, that living wisdom, and share my journey with all of you. So today we're gonna dive deeper into Genesis. And Genesis, it's one of the most interesting chapters and verses of the Bible. In Genesis, that when we translate it to Hebrew is Bereshit, it's the code of creation. If you wanna know and you wanna dive deeper into the knowing, the DNA of the soul, the process of creation, and how you can bring it into your life, Bereshit is the key. And we're going to start incorporating and knowing more about these energies within ourselves. Okay. And you will see how Bereshit is so connected in the DNA of our soul that you will embody that wisdom. And that's the intention of this space. So today space service, it's about words, the power of words, and how us as Elohims, as image of God, as inner gods, we have the power to create. And there's a process as you realize God created the world in 6 days, and in the 7 days, it rests, right? So it's a process. If we see these scriptures, and in these scriptures, the way that we're going to dive into it, it's as we call it in Kabbalah Sad, when we go deeper in the meaning and the codes of creation. Okay. So if you we realize that us as human beings, we have the power and we create through our words, our actions, our thoughts. And we are God creators, that is Elohim. And I'm going to explain more about it in a few. You will realize that in order for you to manifest something and in order for you to sink into that manifestation, you just need to follow the steps of creation. You just need to really tap into the knowingness and remembrance of how to bring realization and manifestation into your life. Okay. So let's dive deeper. I want to share with you. I'm going to share here. Give me a few. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Okay. So let's dive into this. Let's dive into Genesis. And if you realize here, I want to focus. I'm going to share with you how to bring the studies of Kabbalah and Hebrew into the words. So if we go to the first verse of the Bible, it says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." Hmm. This is the translation. But if we go to Hebrew, it says, Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim be'charetz. So let's dive deeper in this. And why I'm sharing this with you is for you to realize that there's deeper meaning even in this text. Bereshit start with a B. And in Kabbalah and in Hebrew, the Hebrew letters have numbers. And every number have a meaning. And when you connect numbers, have a deeper meaning. But if you realize Genesis, the first chapter start with a B, a number 2. It doesn't start with a number 1, meaning that there's something unseen. There's something that is beyond what our human capacity can comprehend. That is the void and the light itself. And the Kabbalists left this as a sign for you to and for us to lower our egos and to realize that there's a mystery behind all of this. That is the power of the light, of the Creator. So we start with Bereshit, Bara Elohim. So if you realize the word God is specifically pointing to Elohim. And Elohim, El, that's why when you bring the archangels, Archangel Gabriel, Uriel, Michael, the El at the end is the connection with the mercy of God. It's a name of God that El brings forth. It's the expanded name of God. Okay. So once we realize that that name carry power and Elohim, it's the plural. When we combine El and Him, means that we're bringing the masculine and feminine energies together. Okay, so now we see something different here. Bereshit bara Elohim. In the beginning, God created the world, create the heavens and the earth. Okay, so if we realize and we study the first word, that is one of the most important words, that is Bereshit. Bereshit, the name Beresh is origin thoughts. So in the origin thoughts, something, there's an space, create Elohim. So here we ask the question, okay, so something create Elohim. So what is Elohim? Elohim, based on these ways, is, as I say, is the plurality of God, and is the God creator through polarities, through constrictions, through light and darkness. Is the one, the ability of God to bring forth the separation of the heaven and the earth, light and darkness. And that's why in the 6 days of creation, God created, that was Elohim, light, the day, the night, the waters, the earth. So Elohim have the capacity to manifest and to separate in order the energies of creation. Okay, so Elohim is a God creator that comes from the light, that comes from Bereshit, from an original thought. And I start with B, I start with 2. So the Bible, the Torah, start with 2, not 1. So if it start with 2, meaning that the 2 have the power of duality, that we came here to this reality as 2, masculine, feminine, light and darkness. Okay, so all of this, it says in justice verse. Now if we go to the word bara, that it's God created. So in the beginning, God create, right? So bara, what is bara? Bara is connecting with blessing. So through the light, in the blessing, Elohim. Okay, so we see that creation was created through blessing. It was created from something deeper. It was a pleasure of God. And that's the ultimate key of us as humans, is to experience the blessing and the pleasure of creation, no matter the circumstance. But once we know that in this wisdom, in these scriptures, there's a deeper meaning that we come from a place of 2, from 1, but the 1 is the mystery, and that 1 converts to 2. Hmm. And we are Elohims because we were created in the image of Elohim, hmm, in the image of God. What happened is it's in the translation with English, Spanish, we're missing the point of the Sod, the deeper wisdom of Kabbalah and the Hebrew Torah and the Zohar and the Bible. Once we go to the words, and that's why it's so important. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That God is Elohim. Hmm. Okay, so now that we tap in this and we tap into the numerology, Elohim have the same numerology that nature. That is Teva. 86. So in this law of the universe, the same numerology consists with nature. So Elohim is nature. Ah, okay. So that makes you wonder more, right? Ask deeper questions, and then you will see how everything start correlating each other. So Elohim is created, and the nature is through the power of Elohim. And if you realize Elohim create the world in 6 days. So it's a process. Why I'm sharing all of this too is for you to realize how we can dive deeper into these studies. But more than anything is if we are in the image of Elohim and Elohim create through the word, and the word Elohim was mentioned 32 times on Genesis chapter 1 to 31, I think so. 32 is the 32 path of wisdom. If you combine the 22 letters plus the tree of life that have 10 spheres, will give you 32 path of wisdom. Okay. So you see how I start encoding and decoding the deeper wisdom of the Bible. So once you understand, okay, if we're Elohim, what is the key of life then? The key for us is to realize how Elohim create. So for me to remember that and create in the same way that Elohim create this world. If you want to bring everything into your life, just put in the divine first, the number one, that is Aleph, and follow the process of creation that Elohim give us in order to understand this reality and in order to manifest the desired life. Okay, so it goes deeper, right? And this phrase is powerful. Remember this. So in Hebrew is Bereshit bara Elohim et. The word et, as you can see it here, I don't know if you can see it very well, but the name et is connected with the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, that is Aleph, and the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, that is Tav, meaning that it's a completion. So in this phrase, it's giving you the codes of how this world was created. Meaning that if it's from the beginning to an end, that's how you create time. So in the beginning, there's a start, origin of time. So you realize God, Elohim, create a platform, and from that platform, it create et. Bereshit bara Elohim et. So we create time. What create afterwards was the heavens. So you create the space. Hashemayim, Vet, Haaretz, and the earth. So in just this verse, it's giving you codes of creation to see how the steps of life. The source create a God creator that is Elohim, and that Elohim is through the time. It comes from time, space, and matter, heaven and earth. Okay. Interesting, right? So then what? Why we see all of this is for you to realize something very beautiful, that the word et, that is connecting with time, if you put something in the middle, another letter that is mem, that is connected with water, is truth. So the same word that means time an expansion. If you put water in the middle, it becomes truth. And why I'm sharing all of this is because if we go to the next verse, it says, now the earth was chaos and void, with darkness upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God hovering over the face of the waters. Here's the whole key of creation. As I say, combining the past, the earth, we put the waters. Why in this verse of the Bible is mentioned all of this? And by the way, Spirit of God is a spirit of Elohim, Baruch Elohim, if you translate it to Hebrew. So the codes, as you see, we create time, space, matter. Now the earth was created. So now something was created. It was formless. It was chaos, the Big Bang, as you say. And from that Big Bang, it was a void of darkness. And in that void of darkness was a deep spirit hovering that brings to the first of the waters. And if you put in the name of time from et, from aleph to tav, that is the word that I share with you, et, and you put in the middle mem, that is water, it becomes truth. Woo! So now we realize that the second verse is telling you that we were created, and it was created the word, and it was formless. Come from darkness, is darkness. And from that darkness, we are the ones that through waters, through emotions, we bring the spirit of Elohim. Okay. So this mean, what is this mean? That if we dive deeper, there's something connecting with waters. And waters is emotion, as we know. It's the state of knowing. You can see how deeper this goes, right? I love this, and it can go even deeper. Why I mentioned in the start point that I want to speak with you about the words, because the words was created in the universe. It was through the words. In the verse after what is shared, it says, and God say, let there be light, and there was light. Vayomer Elohim Yehi Or Yehi Or. The name and the word Vayomer Elohim is mentioned 10 times in Genesis. 10 times is the same numbers of fingers that we have, tongues that we have. Also, the number 10 is connecting with the 10 Sephirot of the Tree of Life in Kabbalah. So the number 10 have power. So now we see that the process of creation is through the process of words, and those words were created in 10 steps. That is why we connect with the Sephirot of life. So it goes deeper here. So let's dive deeper in what John shared in another verse out of Genesis, and it was in the beginning was the word. Was the word, sorry. It's the word, not the word. And the word was with Elohim, and the word was Elohim. He was with Elohim in the beginning. What happened is, as I say, the translation combines just God. There's different names of God. And as you say, when you refer to Elohim, you see that if we were created as the image of Elohim, we are Elohim in flesh. We are Adam. Adam, the three letters of Adam, literally means God in blood and flesh. Meaning this, if you realize in Genesis 27, it says, so Elohim create man in his own image. Man, it says man here, but it's mankind. That is Adam. In the image of Elohim, he create him. Male and female, he create them. So if we are as the image of Elohim, that means that we are Elohims in flesh. And that's why in this new age, we carry the knowing that we are God creators, and that's truth. Even though there's something above that we cannot grasp right now. And that's why we start with number two, because that put us in a place of humbleness, in a place of really surrendering that we may not perceive the whole totality of it. However, we recognize that we were created by God, by a source, and that source create God creators, and those creators create the universe. And the universe was created through a process of principles and structures and law. Interesting, right? So why I'm sharing all of this? Now let's integrate for that to say Genesis. It's that in order for us to manifest, we must be aware of the process of creation. As we see in the first verse, it was created from the void, from the higher mind was created in blessings and Elohim. And that Elohim create time, create space, create matter. And from that matter, it was formless. It was in darkness. That darkness, if we add the waters, it brings the life. Hmm. And everything was when God says, by Yomer Elohim, let there be light. And there was light. So when we face all of this, my intention is that if we are Elohims, if we carry that energy, we can dissipate whatever darkness we are experiencing right now. With the certainty of the words of God said, Elohim said, let there be light, and there was light. Meaning that if you see the verse, there was light, is that light was already there. You just need to say it. Your attention, your intention brings the focus to see the light, but the light was already there. It was the fading of the void, of the shelf, that in Kabbalah is called the klipa. What we experience is the klipa, is the shelf of consciousness, and we experience all these challenges, all these adversities, all of these temptations, is because we are created from one to two in this duality to remember the one. But in these two, we experience the darkness and the light. Interesting. So that means that we have inclination of evil, inclination of light. And today I'm not going to dive deeper into those principles, but know that if we come and we were created in a duality of day and night, we have part of darkness and we have part of light. And that's what we call the fallen angels. Fallen angels are related with Elohims that decide to take the evolutional path of the darkness. Interesting. To reveal the light in the darkness, for that to say. That's why it's an evolutionary process for them. Interesting. And all of this is in the Torah. Once we understand that in our core foundation, we have both inclinations, both dualities, and we constantly have an opponent, an influence of darkness and light in our system, in ourself, we constantly are choosing through free will what to do, who to listen. The opponent, that is what we call the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, or the light inclination. All of this process is what we experience constantly. And then it's, as we know, is the tikkun. Our soul, our Elohim, came here to reveal a specific light. But before going to all of that, I just want to recap. If we're Elohim, we must remember how Elohim create and what are the principles of Elohim. So let's say one of the principles of Elohim is conceal creation, encode it to reveal. What I mean here is if you realize there's a mystery, God, Elohim create all of this in order to encode light, like reveal, conceal light in order to remember itself from a mysterious place, right? We cannot perceive our future. It's always that inner mystery that keep the excitement of revelation of light. So once we go to through our day, if we carry that concealment of light, if we carry that principle of Elohim, we know that every day is an opportunity for us to encode the light. There's a mystery for us to be revealed every day when we wake up. Every day is an invitation for us to see, you know what? Today I'm going to reveal the light. And if a hard day, if you wake up with a heavy, heavy, heavy feeling, and you wake up with opponent and you wake up with adversity, that's a very, very good sign that that day can be one of the best days of your life. That day can be one of the best opportunity for you to experience miracles in your life. Why? Because there's so much darkness, and the same amount of darkness that is there for you is there's the same amount of light waiting to be revealed. So that's the opportunity for you to conceal and to reveal the light through that concealment. Oof. So that means that we choose all of this. We just need to tap into the process of Elohim's, right? I love this. So then, as I say, the light of revelation. And then here's where we tap. Elohim create through, in the Bible, it says that it's through judgment. However, judgment is not the conception or the meaning that this society gave to it. If you realize judgment is related with justice and law, what happened in this society is prejudging ourselves. We prejudge things. But if you realize a judge in a court is a bias being that is just observing the facts and results, and from that discernment, he takes a decision, but without attaching to the story. He's in a neutral, equanimous space where he explore all like the possibilities, and from that space take a decision. That's the judgment. We came here as a judges to discern the light and darkness. What happened is that we utilize this word and we make it. What we are doing, like ourselves, is prejudging, basing our dramas, our stories, our identities. We are prejudging the situation, the person, basing our stories. It's like a judge, like way before going to the court, he already have a movie in his mind, so he already know, basing his perception, what actions to take without listening anything else. That's prejudgment. But if we become a judge, we become discernment is our embodiment. We're able, the ability to discern between light and darkness. So that's the power of Elohim. Because if everything was light as the sun, there's no place for us to experience that discernment, to choose and to remember the consuming of light. So that's a quality. The quality for us to discern, to be judge, the right judge, and to discern the light and the darkness, to discern the evil inclination and the good inclination, to discern the energies. All of this is part of our own process to recognize the Elohims that lies within ourselves. And the one of the last ones it's that I want to share here is a structure and order. We see the universe was created through Elohim. an Elohim creating order. There's a structure, there's an order, and through that order, there's the Shekinah, that the Shekinah is the divine feminine force that is the waters of creation. That is a harmonious order of flow and colors, but it's still being ordered. The masculine principle of order and the feminine principle, knowing that if we carry that within ourselves, we carry strength and we also carry compassion, nurturing, flow, creative energy of the Shekinah, of exploration. If you realize Elohim took 6 days to create, those 6 days, it was very explicit what he was creating. Same like us. So the Kabbalah says, the sages says, that in order for us to create, there's a process of 7 days. If you want to bring an idea, if you want to take a new project, if you have something in mind and start bringing it, there's 4 levels, right? There's the higher mind, that is Asilut, then Bria, Yetzirah, and Asya. I don't want to go too deeper in those, but that's like the emanation. We have the idea. Then we start creating the ideas. Okay, the outlines. Okay, I feel it. Then we start bringing it to Yetzirah, like the formation. Oh, I like the formation. How I'm gonna do? Let me take these things, and then you bring it to action. You start acting up. That's the 4 process and the 4 levels of creation. However, in that process of creation, based in the Kabbalists and the sages, there's a 7 day process, or um, seven cycle, number 7 cycle, meaning that can be 7 months, 7 years, 7 weeks, 7 days. But we start in seven, so we start in 7 days for that to say, meaning that we work in our thing 6 days, and we must rest at least for one, that is the Sabbath, in order to integrate all the energies and experience for us to create again. So I'm sharing all of this for us to, if we want to become, we already are, but remember, the God creators, the Elohims, the light, we must understand how is this process. What are the principles? Yeshua, Jesus Christ, have principles. That's why he was so assured. He made the stories. He knew a lot of all of this, the code of creation, about Elohim, about David, Solomon, Kabbalists. Once you understand these principles, that's how you bring your values. And from those values, you are so aware of those values that you start seeing what is the problem through your judgment. Yeshua was a big judger. Like, he was so clear of his principles and so in tune with the judge state that he had the discernment to see what was wrong in society. So he saw the problem, and he had a solution. The solution was to speak, to go out, to reveal against that darkness and to bring the light. And having that conviction of the assignment, knowing that each one of us is a revelation of Elohim through our own perception of consciousness, to experience life from a place of revelation and uniqueness and individuation. So if you realize our purpose as souls is to reveal light, that's our deepest purpose, is to reveal light. And we have an innate desire. Everything in creation, being in Kabbalah, everything was born through desire. So it's okay for us to feel desires. Elohim have desires to create. The source have desires to experience itself. The desires is the core foundation of our God self. Desires, it's our focus. So your desires are good. There's other traditions that says that your desires are the evil. However, based on these principles, if we came from creator and God created with the desire to explore itself, we carry the same seeds than God. So we desire things. That's why you desire things. You wake up every day with that desire. I desire to feel better, maybe, to reveal light. And that's a motivation that push you out of the monotony of life. Yes? So to conclude, let's start bringing up. Once we understand the principles, and we're gonna navigate deeper and deeper about all of this. But once we understand the principles, and these powerful principles that bring us into our alignment, we start the process of Bereshit, of Genesis, of in our life. We constantly do it. Every day that we wake up, we start the process of creation. Every day we create as Elohim. Bereshit. So every day we have a thought, and that thought create a blessing. What happened is, as we saw in the verse, it was formless, chaos, void, darkness. So that blessing is dissipated through chaos. Okay? And we are Elohims. So every morning we wake up with a blessing, but that blessing becomes dissipating chaos. That chaos what brings the opportunity for us to bring the waters of light, to reveal the light. How? Through the waters. That's when we find the truth. And what is the waters? Is the emotions. So every day is tapping ourselves into our emotions. If we feel anxiety, if we feel stress, if we feel all of these emotions, that's chaos. But that's a good sign because chaos is related with blessing, with barak, with braha, meaning that if you're feeling that anxiety, if you're feeling that stress, it's because something is waiting for you in the other side. Love and light and blessings are waiting for you. So when you wake up in the morning with that stress, oof, what a blessing. I'm waiting for that blessing. Thank you so much for this anxiety. Because I know that within this anxiety, there's a blessing waiting for me to be revealed. There's something through this resistance, through this emotion, through this depression, through this like intensity. There's the opportunity for me to reveal the light. What a blessing. And it says in the Torah, in the beginning. In the beginning was the blessing, Elohim, in the time. So once we understand that there's a process of time, that everything comes in creation in perfect timing, in the space and matter in heavens and earth, but first come in the space to bring it into matter, we follow the process. So thank you so much. This is the first Chimbala ministry. I hope that you like it. We're gonna keep navigating deeper the principles of Elohim. Stay in tune. If you wanna dive deeper into the Kabbalah mysteries and dive very, very deeper into understanding creation, that's Kabbalah. It's a technology of the soul. It's a technology that helps us to remember the Elohim within, and from that Elohim within, connect with the source itself. That is what we call Ein Sof, that is the light, the endless light, that we still not being able to process what is really it is. And that's the beautiful mystery. So based on all of that, stay tuned. I haven't announced it yet, but I think that it's gonna be August 24th, 23 or 24th, 24th, Kabbalah 1. Okay, we're having Kabbalah 2 on Saturday, but those are for those that already took it, or Kabbalah 1 on Sunday, August 24th. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me as well. Any suggestions, any feedback, something that you want to touch base. There's deeper wisdom in all of this. And we haven't even touched the base of the Adam, of the mankind. If we are Elohim, but we have a specific principles because we came in the matter. Elohim stay in the space of time, um, in the process of time, space, and matter. We were able to bring all of that into something tangible that is this three-dimensional reality, and it's the Adam. The Adam is connecting to God in the flesh. So we are that, and we carry specific principles, and those principles are there for us to be reactivated. Okay, so thank you so much. Shalom, shalom. Any questions about Kabbalah? We're open. I see you next Sunday. We're gonna have it, and the intention is to bring in live, to bring in person eventually, to share with everyone. And yeah, hope that you like it, and see you in the next one. Shalom, shalom.